The winds of change are blowing through the MotoGP paddock, and again, it just always makes Valencia, that gives it that extra special sense of occasion.
Yeah, it does, and it's a young man's game, and I think people have to accept that, and people come and go, but being the last race of the season, being such a special race, it's a very emotional time. It's a very important race to win as well. You want to go into the winter as a rider, don't you? Celebrating for what, 5 months, 6 months, that Grand Prix victory. Of course, that doesn't happen if you win the first race of the season, and it just goes on and on. But no, it's a special event, and we are going to say goodbye to a number of people. That's the way it is. It's a tough life, 17 Grand Prix, travelling the world. But Carlo Fiorani in particular has been a fabulous person for the media, and we will all miss him. Chris Herring, the English guy, taking over as the man that's running really the HRC side of the racing side, and that's going to be very interesting indeed. Problem is he's a Middlesbrough fan, but we can't hold that against him, can it? No, we won't go down that road.
Front row of the grid then, and Sete Gibernau, the man on pole for the final race of 2005. So if you're just joining us, a warm welcome to Valencia for the final race of the 2005 MotoGP season. It starts with Sete Gibernau on pole position, joined on the front row by Melandri and Hayden. Row 2, Carlos Checa, Max Biaggi. Could it be his final ever performance in MotoGP? And Colin Edwards. Row 3, Loris Capirossi, Alex Barros and Shinya Nakano. Row 4, Makoto Tamada, John Hopkins, Alex Hoffman. Row 5, Tony Elias, Nobuatsu Aoki riding for the injured Kenny Roberts at Suzuki, and Valentino Rossi, would you believe it, the back of that row 5. Chianari, Schaus, Rolfo on row 6. Row 7, Ellison, Curtis Roberts riding the Proton V5 here this weekend, and Franco Battaini.
Well, the second bikes are out with those sets of wet weather tyres on. It's amazing again. Sete Gibernau not winning a race, and we haven't had that wet weather rule come into being used any time of the season where the riders can come in and change bikes with new tyres on. That's amazing. I can tell you, looking up in the sky, there is not a hope in hell of that happening this afternoon. Absolute glorious day. From pit lane, you look across, it's just a sea of faces, 125,000 people, and the bike's just leaving the grid now for the final warm-up lap.
So the MotoGP World Championship was decided already. Earlier in the season at Sepang, Valentino Rossi clinching the crown for the 5th time. But can Sete Gibernau take his first victory of 2005? It's his last chance to do so. Rossi will start from 15th on the grid after that crash in qualifying yesterday afternoon. It's his lowest ever qualifying position in MotoGP since he stepped up to the Premier class on the 500cc Honda in 2000. It really is shaping up to be a cracker. Of course, we've got that battle for second in the World Championship as well. Marco Melandri leading Nicky Hayden now by 9 points in that particular battle. That could become very, very close indeed. And we ride with Max Biaggi here as well. Could it be his last ever performance in a Grand Prix? A true legend of the sport, Max Biaggi.
Fabulous helicopter shots of the circuit, aren't they? And here we are. We ride. I think it's probably... because I can't quite see the sea. You're going to tell me who actually we're riding with. I'm right in front of the Yamaha garage at the moment, on pit wall, as they wait for their rider to come back.
Yeah, Nicky Hayden coming round there, and Hayden, who will also start from the front row of the grid. He's been very, very good in qualifying this year, Nicky Hayden. That's one part of his game that he's really stepped up, but not scored a point in his previous 2 appearances here at Valencia, but aiming to score his 4th successive podium. No one else has done that this season apart from this man, Valentino Rossi, the doctor in those white, red and black leathers of Yamaha factory racing. Famous colours, famous team, famous rider. Can they finish the season with a famous victory?
Well, red flag being shown here at the start and finish area. The riders make their way onto the grid for the last time in 2005. What a year it's been. 17 rounds of the MotoGP World Championship. What a place to finish. A crowd of 125,000 packing every square inch of this Ricardo Tormo circuit in glorious sunshine here at Valencia in Spain. And what a front row we have. The front row of Sete Gibernau, Marco Melandri and Nicky Hayden. What can Valentino Rossi do from row 5? Red flag being taken away for the last time this season. What a great year it's been. MotoGP finale here at Valencia is underway.
Rossi didn't get the best of starts there. I was just looking out the commentary box window at him. He didn't get away from the line too well. He's got a lot to make up as they head into turn 1. It looks as though Gibernau's got the line as they tip it in. Nicky Hayden's just in behind him. Marco Melandri also making a good start. The Ducati of Checa. Oh, there's a man down in the middle of the pack. It looks as though it could be Robbie Rolfo, one of the Ducatis. There's Rossi on the inside of Tamata. It is Rolfo. Rolfo's gone down, but is he the only one?
From what we can see, is Robbie Rolfo is the only one at the moment. We wait to see. Yeah, there we are. That's the picture of the gravel trap. Robbie Rolfo runs away. He's perfectly okay. But Rolfo's out of the race, and that's a disaster, obviously, for him, without one lap gone.
Melandri now, then, it is who leads from Hayden, Gibernau, Biaggi, Capirossi, Checa. Where is Valentino Rossi? He's in 10th place. We look for him as they come through the second split. The Italian on that number 46 Yamaha has got Alex Barros in his sights. He's the man to watch at the moment. 30 laps here to go, but Rossi already on the charge, and he's now up to 9th place. We relegated Tony Elias there. Tony Elias was in 9th, and now Rossi's got past him. So Rossi up to 9th place. Barros is ahead of him in 8th.
On pit wall, looking away to our left, waiting for those riders to arrive, but Rossi's already made up 6 places from 15 to 9. 3/4 away through the first lap. This promises to be a cracker. All eyes now on pit lane, turn away to the left. They're going to come in, they just come in. We just get a glimpse of them now around that long right-hander that brings them back into the start and finish straight. It's the 2 Telefonica Movistar Hondas that lead the way, but where is Rossi?
Looks as though he just got past his teammate Colin Edwards as they came through that long left-hander. Now Edwards will try and follow Rossi, no doubt, as he looks to make up even more ground, but it's Melandri who leads from Hayden, Gibernau, Biaggi, Checa, Capirossi. Here comes Rossi at the inside of Alex Barros. Another position for Valentino Rossi. He's now up to 7th place. He's made up 8 positions already in just over 1 lap. What a start to the race from Valentino Rossi. Oh, and he's run it wide. Rossi's run it wide, and he's let Barros back through. So having made up those 8 positions, he's now dropped one.
Yeah, that's going to happen, isn't it? Mistake from Valentino Rossi. Barros back in front of him, but he's riding very, very hard indeed. Let's have a look at it again.
Yeah, it's one of the Kawasaki's.
That's the faller of, I think, Robbie Rolfo, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Robbie Rolfo, and it's one of the Kawasaki's that he runs into. And Rolfo didn't look too happy with it. Oh, and we've lost somebody else now as well. A cloud of dust has gone up. Well, either that or it's a firework that's just gone off right there down in the service road. It looks as though that could be the case.
I think it probably was a firework or somebody kicking up some dust. There doesn't seem to be anybody down, does there? But that's really not the time to start letting off fireworks. There's enough fireworks, one would imagine, out there on the track.
There's going to be a few more as well as Rossi looks to make his way through the field here. Let's have a look at this. That's Rossi on the inside of Tony Elias. We're riding with Alex Barros, and a huge slide for Rossi there.
It's just wonderful to watch, isn't it? He is giving it absolutely everything. Here they come again. Start and finish straight. End of lap 2. What a finale to the season. I'll switch my microphone off now. You will be drowned.
Sete Gibernau with the fastest lap of the race in 3rd place, but it's his teammate Marco Melandri who continues to lead the way from Nicky Hayden as he does in the chase for 2nd place in this World Championship. 9 points separate them. Melandri, after that debut victory in Istanbul 2 weeks ago, and now leading the Valencia Grand Prix.
Up at the far end of the circuit. But just the sort of start he wanted, wasn't it?
Rossi has got past Alex Barros.
There you go, just picked it up on the screen. So he got past him once, didn't he, Valentino Rossi? And then, of course, he ran it a little bit wide. Barros got back past him, but Rossi on the charge.
These Ducatis are not going to be easy to get past. He's got Loris Capirossi and Carlos Checa in front of them. Let's see how long it takes him. It's crucial here that Marco Melandri takes advantage of this trouble that Rossi is having now getting through the pack. He's hit something of a wall at the moment. Valentino Rossi after making excellent progress on the first lap. He's now struggling a little bit, and it's crucial here for Melandri that he gets away and continues to keep his head down at the front. This is a quick lap from Melandri. Already he's opened up half a second over Nicky Hayden in 2nd place. It's going to be very interesting to see what the lap time is here. It was a 1:33.476 from Gibernau on the previous lap. That was the fastest lap of the race so far. It was just outside Rossi's lap record pace from 2003, but it looks as though Marco Melandri could be going even faster.
Here they come again. Marco Melandri just opening up that gap. You're right, Matt, that's what he's got to do. Take advantage while Rossi's trying to get past these Ducatis. Here's Marco Melandri going through lap 3.
Ducati power, very, very fast as they come down the straight. Rossi's going to have to be brave on the brakes here if he's to make up any ground on these two. Marco Melandri with the fastest lap and a new record, 1:33.096 from Marco Melandri. It looked fast, it was fast.
Absolutely perfect by Melandri, new lap record. He's doing exactly how he should. As Rossi has problems coming through, Melandri trying to open up a gap that's going to be too big for even Valentino Rossi to close. This is a very, very mature young man, Marco Melandri. He so enjoyed that win in Turkey just 2 weeks ago.
Looks like Gibernau's in trouble, Nick. Gibernau's run it wide there. A problem for Sete Gibernau for third place. He's gone. There's Max Biaggi through to third. Carlos Checa just behind him. Gibernau's in trouble. And the Spaniard's wretched season could end in the only possible way. Another disappointment in his home round and yet more misery for Movistar.
Can you believe it? Sete Gibernau, problems again. He's not going to win that first Grand Prix of the season at the last round, which pushed Valentino Rossi another place up the field. What a disaster for the Spaniard. His teammate, though, at the front. Nicky Hayden chasing very hard indeed. Then we have Carlos Checa, Max Biaggi, Loris Capirossi, and Valentino Rossi just tucked in behind them.
Looks wonderful, that bike, doesn't it? But he's really struggling here to get past these guys, Valentino Rossi. Oh, and there is the onboard camera from Gibernau's bike. Smoke billowing out of the back of his Honda. And there, I think beyond any shadow of a doubt, the root of his problem. Look at that. Every picture tells a story, and I think that tells a story of Gibernau's season.
As they race past me, it looks like Rossi has got past Capirossi.
He has at the end of the straight on the brakes. Rossi gets past Capirossi. A new fastest lap though from the race leader, and that is Rossi's biggest problem at the moment. A 1:33.043 for Marco Melandri, a new lap record, and quite the opposite for his teammate Sete Gibernau. And look at the stewards there, the cheerleaders for this 124,000 strong crowd.
You can't blame Sete Gibernau for that, can you? Here we go, here's Valentino Rossi, up the inside of Loris Capirossi, picks off another man. He's got Max Biaggi, he's got Carlos Checa in front of him. Meanwhile, Melandri at the front just keeps knocking in those lap records.
Rossi is now past Max Biaggi. Nick, Carlos Checa had passed Biaggi for third place, but now it's Rossi who's passed Biaggi as well for fourth. So Rossi's got Checa in front of him now in third place. It's a super ride from Valentino Rossi, but is it going to be too little too late with Marco Melandri and Nicky Hayden now 3.5 seconds clear of this group at the front?
Nothing's impossible with him, is it? But
sorry Nick, somebody just ran wide from the back of that group. I think it was Colin Edwards there, or he's still on his bike there, but looks as though the American was in trouble.
Rossi right on the tail now of Carlos Checa. 7 is Checa, 46 Rossi, of course. And Rossi really, really means business. Back on pit lane. We await for Marco Melandri to arrive any moment now, followed by Nicky Hayden. But then Rossi trying to get after them.
1:33.3 this time from Marco Melandri. The pace slightly slower at the front. It'll be interesting to see Rossi's lap time here. It's a 33.1 from Rossi, so he's 0.2 of a second quicker than Marco Melandri. But the problem now for Valentino Rossi is that he's got this big, wide, booming Ducati of Carlos Checa right in front of him. On board with Carlos Checa, that's the view behind him. Rossi's putting on the pressure. Is it too much for the Spaniard? Just about hangs on, having run it wide there on the entry to the left-hander, but now he's run it wide again. He's left the door open,
through.
And Rossi says thank you very much.
Rossi up into third place. Carlos Checa just running the Ducati a bit wide. Now he's after the two young pretenders to his crown, the two young Honda riders. Now this is going to be a very, very interesting 3 or 4 laps. Can he start closing the gap? Certainly on Melandri at the front. A magnificent ride by Rossi.
24.5 laps of this circuit still remain, remember. 3.9 seconds the gap between Nicky Hayden in second place and Valentino Rossi in third. A long, long way to go yet. Rossi's done a lot of the hard work now, but it's only just starting for the Italian. He's got to get his head down and push.
He can certainly do that, can't he? There we are, Rossi third. Would you believe it? Starting in 15th place, Carlos Checa just behind him, Max Biaggi, Loris Capirossi and Alex Barros. But it's the 2 men at the front that are going to arrive any moment now. Once again, the boards go out. I'll go up and have a look in a minute, but I bet they're telling them that Rossi is coming. Melandri through.
Melandri through, 1:33.4 this time from Melandri, 33.3 from Hayden. Rossi with a 33.6, so just losing a little bit of ground there, Rossi. Foot off the peg as he always does in those hard braking situations, but I think Rossi there, well, he had to get past Carlos Checa, so his lap time just dropped a little bit, but This is the crucial lap now for Valentino Rossi. Has he got the pace to step it up and start closing the gap on the two men at the front?
I'm making my way up pit lane. I think it's just going to be interesting to see if Melandri's team tell him that actually Rossi's up into third place. That's going to be interesting. I would imagine they would, because I think he'll want to know if Rossi's coming, won't you? There we go, we're looking at Marco's board at the moment. Nothing telling us a great deal at the moment, just his position and the seconds and what have you. We'll wait and see if Rossi's name is mentioned. Not at the moment.
It's probably the last thing he wants to find out, isn't it? That Rossi's there in third place, on his way to try and catch them.
You're probably right there, aren't you? Yeah, I'm going to write it on with a bit of chalk, I think. That would mess things up, won't it?
Yeah. He's pushed very hard over the opening stage of these laps. Marco Melandri smashed the lap record here on a couple of occasions, and it's given him an advantage. Nicky Hayden's chasing him dearly as well at the front, but it would be in Nicky Hayden's interest here to try and make a pass on Marco Melandri and see if he can get Valentino Rossi involved in this fight, because that's the standings in the championship. Marco Melandri would finish second overall ahead of Nicky Hayden, but Hayden, even by winning this race, if Melandri were to finish second, Melandri would still be second in the championship. So he needs to get Rossi involved in here. He needs to win the race and get Rossi between himself and Melandri. That's Hayden's only chance of finishing second in this World Championship.
Certainly the board hasn't told him anything about Rossi, to be honest with you. They're just keeping it absolutely straight at the moment. Great ride by Nicky Hayden in second place, and he certainly hasn't let Melandri really get away, has he?
No, he's done very, very well indeed. And one thing is for sure, that Marco Melandri's been pushing hard in the opening stages of this race, and Nicky Hayden is not going to let him back off. He's going to have to keep pushing and keep pushing, because Nicky's going to be right there all the way through, putting the pressure on and not giving him a moment's peace. There's going to be no point here really where Marco Melandri can say, OK, I can start backing off a little bit now.
This has got the hallmarks of being an absolute cracking race, hasn't it? Let's wait and see. But Hayden hanging in there. Rossi trying to pull back on the two lads that are trying to pinch his crown. That's absolutely fabulous stuff. I'm actually now right in front of Nicky Hayden's board, actually. I could ask if I could hang it out. Actually, no, better not, had I? Just says plus 4.2. They are telling Nicky Hayden in big black letters on an orange background that the man in third place is Rossi. That is as clear as anything for Nicky Hayden. He knows it's Valentino Rossi, and they're telling him, in fact, he's leading Rossi by 4.6 seconds.
Well, that will be interesting. It was 4.2 as they came through the lap last time, but yes, actually Melandri and Hayden have extended their advantage over Valentino Rossi in this race to 4.6 seconds. So we said it would be interesting to see if Rossi could step up his pace here with clear track in front of him and close down the gap on the riders in front of him. The answer is that he can't. He's dropped half a second here to Melandri and Hayden, and that actually is Rossi's slowest lap in some time. He's dropped down into the 134s, Valentino Rossi, a 34.1. Well, perhaps he's going to settle for third place.
I don't think he'll settle for third, but I think he's he's used up a lot of rubber, wouldn't you, to fight his way through the field, and two, this is what it's going to be like next year, isn't it? It's a mouth-watering prospect, isn't it? These two lads, they've come of age, haven't they, Marco Melandri and Nicky Hayden, and now they're on a level playing field with Valentino Rossi. I tell you now, he would like nothing more than to beat them this afternoon. This is a big, big race for Rossi, but it appears at the moment he's hit that brick wall, as you often do. He's come from 15th to 3rd, but now he's having a real problem to close the gap on the two lads at the front.
As I said, Nick, I think Rossi's sort of only chance of getting involved here now is for Hayden to get in front of Melandri, start mixing it up a little bit at the front. Well, we've got another man down, that's Nobuatsu Aoki. Oh, it could even be a breakdown there. Can't see too much scuffage on Aoki's leathers, but riding in place of the injured Kenny Roberts Jr. this weekend. And yet their confirmation, mechanical breakdown. Test rider for Suzuki this year, Nobuatsu Aoki, and then stepping in for Roberts for this final round.
I can tell you, they're telling Nicky Hayden 4.8 seconds now. They're still telling him it's Rossi there, but 4.8 seconds.
Yep, he's going to have to do it himself here, Nicky Hayden, if he wants to win this race. Going to be very, very hard now to beat Marco Melandri in the championship, but plenty of pride at stake here for the race victory, and of course his old buddy Michael Jordan watching on from the stand as well.
Tell you what, I think winning this race would even almost be as good as finishing second in the championship for Nicky Hayden, or even better than finishing second in the championship for Nicky Hayden. That would be an amazing result for him to go home to America in the winter with a bit of that testing, but 2 months off, having beaten Marco Melandri. That would be an amazing result for him.
There's Alex Crivier, the former 500cc world champion with Repsol Honda, of course, looking on. He's going to be riding that bike tomorrow in a journalist test that we just heard before from Giacomo Agostini, that he's going to be riding Rossi's Yamaha in those wonderful colours, the red, white and black that Agostini won his first 500cc race for Yamaha in. So Agostini's going to be riding, Crivier's going to be riding. There's going to be some serious legends out there on the track tomorrow, Nick.
Yeah, not you or me. You've got your arm in plaster and I'm too old.
Yeah, I don't think even without my arm in plaster, I think it would have been in plaster by the end of it.
Dead right. Yeah, very, very calm on pit wall at the moment, and Pete Benson controlling things very, very calmly on the Repsol Honda side of things. Telefonica Movistar Honda, they're only worried about one man now, of course, with Sete Gibernau gone. They're telling him it's 4.9, but they're still telling him it's Rossi behind. But I think this is going to be a straight race between the two youngsters on the Hondas. Here they come now, Marco Melandri and Nicky Hayden.
Separated by 9 points in the championship, separated by 0.3 of a second in the race. Michael Jordan, NBA star. Well, you could put one of a number of titles to that man's name, but I think NBA star is probably low on the list, really. Sporting legend and a hero to many, including the man that he's cheering on out on track, Nicky Hayden. He was lapping in third place at around this point of the race last year when he spun out and into the gravel, but he's come on in leaps and bounds in 2005. This is a different Nicky Hayden that we've seen. The most consistent challenger, along with Marco Melandri, to Valentino Rossi in the second half of the championship. And after that race in Istanbul, where Marco Melandri won the race and Nicky Hayden finished in third place, Rossi sat between them in the press conference after the race, didn't he, Nick, and said, these two are the future.
Absolutely right. And I say, Carlos Checa's having a good ride in fourth place. He's really hung on to Valentino Rossi, hasn't he? And I think he's going to start giving him a hard time. But Sete Gibernau's Ducati contract, I think, is getting less and less likely. And Carlos Checa could still remain there. It's a good ride by the Spaniard, but it's these two young Honda youngsters that lead the way. And they are the future. Valentino Rossi doesn't usually say things wrong, doesn't he? And he's got it absolutely right. And this is going to go all the way to the checker flag. And I've got to say, full marks to Nicky Hayden, because you get the feeling that Marco Melandri tried to break them down early on. Not able to do that again. I'm right in the Repsol Honda pit wall. So they lean out. And here they come once again. Melandri leads Hayden in second place.
Interesting battle between Michelin and Bridgestone there, between Rossi and Checa, because, of course, Rossi on Michelin tyres, Checa on Bridgestone tyres. And as we've seen on several occasions this season, those Bridgestone tyres do seem to get going towards the end of the race and really improving their performance. Conspiracy theories and rumours, Nick, linking Yamaha to Bridgestone in
Absolutely.
2006 next season, with Rossi supposedly due to test for Ferrari at Mugello on Wednesday, and pushing quite hard to make things as smooth as possible by having Bridgestone tyres on his car and his motorcycle.
Plenty of rumours about, but we're up with the real stuff now with Pete Benson, Nicky Hayden's crew chief. He's making a good fist of this for you, Pete, isn't he?
Well, he is. You know, he's really got onto it again, and again, it's really good to see the two young guys up the front fighting for it.
Yeah, I think Melandri thought he might be able to get away, didn't he? But Nicky really stuck in there.
Yeah, he has, but I don't think Marco underestimates Nicky either. You know, they both know they're pretty fierce competitors, and neither of them will give an inch to anyone.
This is the future, isn't it?
I really hope so. I mean, it's great for Grand Prix racing at the moment. You've got all these young guys coming up and rattling the old guys, and, you know, I think there's more coming in the next few years, so it's going to get even more exciting.
Better let you get back to your proper job, Pete.
Thanks, mate.
Pete Benson there, chief mechanic for Nicky Hayden, and wise words, and fully agree. It's great to see these guys coming up and rattling the old guard, and we're seeing, as I said before, the winds are changing MotoGP, and it's all for the good, it's all for the benefit of this sport, and we're going to see some wonderful racing in the future, with or without Valentino Rossi. And he's coming under some serious pressure now from Carlos Checa, and I bet you Carlos Checa's enjoying this situation with 18 laps to go.
I'm also next to the Camel Honda pit, and they just give Alex Barros a very simple board. It just says Alex, place 7. And as we say, it could be Alex Barros' last MotoGP ride. And, well, we'd like to go out a bit higher than in 7th place. But it's a young man's game, and it's the two youngsters that put it up such a great show. I'll have a walk down now to the Telefonica Movistar pit, just see what's going on there. But I would think they're quite happy with the situation as it stands at the moment, because Rossi isn't making progress, isn't he? It is going to be between these two lads, and Valentino Rossi is going to have to say it again, isn't it? It's going to be between these two, Young and me, next season, and he's absolutely right. Rather a sad board here, you've got to say. Sete Gibernau, number 15, lap 26 to go. 4.1.9 seconds. Biaggi was the man in just behind him in 4th place. The board just lying rather discarded on the side of the pit at the moment. Sete Gibernau career, probably at Telefonica Movistar Honda, is over, and it's over with a mechanical breakdown. And not 10 yards away, Marco Melandri's board tells him, quite simply, he's in 1st place.
Yeah, it's been a series of mixed emotions, hasn't it, for that team this year? Of course, Movistar leaving MotoGP for good. Well, maybe not for good, actually. There was an interview in their Spanish newspaper on Thursday with their head of marketing, and he said that they could be back in the future, but it's definitely leaving at the end of this season, Movistar. So rumours are that it's going to be Fortuna, Honda, Grassini in 2006, with Marco Melandri and Tony Elias, the riders. Repsol Honda, we know, is going to be Nicky Hayden and Danny Pedrosa. Our very own Nick Harris announced that on on Thursday afternoon in the Repsol Honda hospitality. I'm not sure it was actually official at that point, but raised the smile.
I think that's why they asked me to leave. Oh, I did get one beer off them anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that was why they asked you to leave.
Probably, yeah. Well, I'm making a fool of myself as always. There we go, yeah, that's actually, I'm just looking at Valentino Rossi's board there. They're telling it's Nicky Hayden in front of him, and it's 6 seconds now, and it's Carlos Checa behind him, so not really telling us anything we didn't know, but I think they've realised that he's not going to win this race, unless, of course, the two Honda men come together, and I don't think they're going to do that, so very interesting indeed.
Just running through the potential rider lineups for 2006, Nick, we've got Repsol and Movistar Honda covered. Camel Honda, you could sort of pick 2 out of 5 riders. You've got Carlos Checa, Alex Barros, Max Biaggi, Casey Stoner in there with a shout as well. Well, that's 4 actually, isn't it? But
what about Sete Gibernau?
And Sete Gibernau, sorry, yeah, there's the 5th. Or any 2 of those 5 could all be riding in the yellow Camel Honda colours next season.
Yeah, that's very interesting indeed. Here comes the battle for 3rd place. Rossi 3rd, Checa 4th. Then I think we've got Max Biaggi, Loris Capirossi and Alex Barros.
Colin Edwards crosses the line in 8th place as well. Makoto Tamada just behind him in 9th place. Shinya Nakano blasts past me on the Kawasaki in 10th. He's got Tony Elias for company. But now Nicky Hayden is really closing in on Marco Melandri, and you just get the feeling now, having done that he's in a position now, sooner or later, 15 and a half laps to go, to start making a bit of an attempt to pass the Italian.
He's done a lot of he's done so much of the hard work to stay there. Melandri started to break away. He stayed with him. He's sort of solidified things now. He's got it all sorted out, and he'll start just nipping away at him, won't he? Just starting to put a bit of pressure on him. I don't know if he'll actually make a move yet. They've got no worries about Valentino Rossi behind them. I think that's important, so they can ride quite tactically, not worried that if they do ride tactically, there's going to be problems from a rider in 3rd place. He's probably going to prove me completely wrong, Nicky Hayden, and go past Marco Melandri as quick as he can. I don't think so.
Rossi closes the gap down to Hayden by a 1/10 of a second, but not really showing any sort of pace to trouble the 2 men at the front. You look down, Nicky Hayden there with a time of 1:33.7, and Rossi through that first split making the time up, but there they go, blasting down the straight once more. The 2 Honda pit boards are held out. One is for Marco Melandri, one is for Nicky Hayden. Now the one goes out for Yamaha, one from Ducati. It's Rossi in 3rd place, and he's doing well to hold off Carlos Checa there in 4th. Max Biaggi, Loris Capirossi and Alex Barros, 3 of the most experienced men in Grand Prix racing. There's some appearances there between the 3 of them, isn't there? But it's the youth now that's coming through and challenging that experience, and here is evidence of what it's capable of doing. Marco Melandri and Nicky Hayden supreme today. Valentino Rossi, all right, he's had his problems, starting from 15th on the grid. Done ever so well to come through to 3rd, but the rest of the field have been just simply blown away by these 2 today.
Yeah, they have. And you've got to say, we may be looking at the last ride of Max Biaggi and even Alex Barros in MotoGP, and that's sad. But when you see who's coming along, and the youngsters that are performing out there today, you understand why. One of the WCMs has just gone past me, sounding very, very sick indeed. I'm not sure if it's James Ellison or Franco Passaini, but didn't sound at all well as it went past us, so we'll wait to see on that one. But yeah, this is the future, and I think in some ways it's tremendous during this last race that we're seeing the future. So many people have said, what happens when Valentino Rossi leaves MotoGP? Ladies and gentlemen, this is your answer.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, isn't it, Nick? Valentino Rossi is probably one of those rare situations where a sportsman becomes bigger than the sport that he competes in. I'd say Michael Jordan's here today. He's another example of somebody like that who crossed so many boundaries and became such a superstar that he was almost bigger than basketball itself. But did basketball struggle when Michael Jordan retired and moved on? Did it, heck? Of course not. 50 million Americans certainly over there would disagree with you, because this is a world-class event, a world-class sport, and when Valentino Rossi eventually does decide to move on, there's going to be people coming through to provide just as good a show.
Well, Rossi, I again haven't got a timing screen, seems to be putting on a bit of a spurt to me, certainly getting away from Carlos Checa, but is he making any ground on the two lads at the front?
Well, it's interesting, Nick. Rossi's just dropped back into the 133s. The two lads at the front, Marco Melandri and Nicky Hayden, 134.1 from Marco Melandri, 134.2 from Hayden. They've dropped their pace a little bit. I'm just wondering now, 14 laps to go. Valentino Rossi is one of the only Michelin riders, himself and Colin Edwards. They are the only two Michelin riders to have put a hard front tyre on. We talk about those Bridgestones getting stronger later in the race, but as I said, Rossi and Edwards, the only two Michelin riders to go for a hard front tyre.
Curtis Roberts, sorry, just to pull it. Curtis Roberts just going past me, retiring on the KR machine.
Okay, well, Marco Melandri and Nicky Hayden, both of them on medium fronts and medium rears. Rossi and Edwards, hard fronts and hard rears. Of course, Edwards is currently down in 8th place. He's 2.5 seconds adrift of Loris Capirossi, but, well, let's see now. We'll check the lap times. 33.8 from Melandri, 33.9 from Hayden. Again, the gap just opens up slightly to 4 tenths between the pair, and it's a 33.7 from Rossi, so he is quicker than those two, but only by a tenth, and that is not going to be enough over the final 13 laps. There is Curtis Roberts, as we heard from Nick, back in Grand Prix racing with his father's team here this weekend, riding the Proton KR V5 machine. Perhaps they're going to be with Hondas next season. We wait to find out. And perhaps even with Kenny, his elder brother, riding.
God, I thought you meant Kenny Senior for a minute then. Yeah, but as always, it's a question of finance, isn't it? But it would be a very sad day to see Kenny Roberts and the team drop out of Grand Prix racing. But it's a very tough game out there at the moment. Honda, I believe, as you say, are quite willing to supply them with engines, but it's the finance they need to get the team on the road. Let's hope they do it, because Kenny Roberts, well, he was a man that pioneered, didn't he, that broke the European domination of Grand Prix motorcycle racing. He's told us about it ever since. At any moment we care to talk to him about it. He is a true legend, and it would be a sad, sad day if he dropped out of this sport.
There's the gap then between Hayden in second place, Rossi in third, and Checa in fourth. And Checa has now been dropped by Rossi by 1.4 seconds. Just check the split times now as they come through that last bend. And it looks as though Rossi has lost a little bit more ground here to the two men at the front again. But
here they come past me now. Melandri and Hayden. Yeah, and I think Rossi put on a big spurt. Here is Rossi now. And Checa.
Yeah, he's lost time there as Rossi to both the two men at the front. So we can safely say that over the final 12 laps, this is going to be a head-to-head between Melandri and Hayden. Melandri just stepping up the pace a little bit again, a 133.6, 33.5 though, the response from Hayden. So Hayden pulls back a tenth, still half a second the gap between them.
They can ride it so tactically, can't they now? I mean, obviously they're absolutely flat out, but knowing that Rossi's not that close, they can really plan what they want to do and plan their moves. It's a big game of chess. It's very, very interesting indeed. And I can tell you, I'm back at the Repsol Honda pit lane, pit wall, on the pit wall with them, and they are absolutely pouring the screens, working things out. They know it's going to be very, very close indeed.
Just think that Nicky Hayden would like to be a little bit closer here, Nick, than the half second that Melandri's got over him at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's going to put any sort of pressure on Marco Melandri. He has got to be that little bit closer. And if he's going to do it, he's going to do it start just exerting a little bit of pressure on him, hasn't he? Because Melandri is supremely confident at the moment. There's going to be a great battle, but Melandri certainly, you would just say at the moment, holds that upper hand, doesn't he?
Seems to do. It really does seem as though Marco Melandri's got the edge. 11 laps to go now as they blast across the line. The gap between them, 0.4 seconds. This time it's in favour of Max Biaggi, that lap. 133.5 to 133.6. It's almost like a boxing match, this, isn't it? You're counting the laps by as they go by, like rounds of a boxing match. That one went to Melandri. Will Hayden take this one? And who will come out on top at the end? It could be a judge's decision. It could be that close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be that close. A fabulous end of the season. As we keep saying, it's two young men that the future of the sport is all about, and they are putting on a fabulous show. Crowd obviously disappointed with Sete Gibernau dropping out in the early stages. Not a mistake by Sete this time, you've got to say. Looked like a major engine problem, didn't it? He's absolutely distraught. Who can blame him? He is out of the race. Robbie Rolfo going down on the very first bend. But apart from that, Melandri and Hayden really have led the way. Rossi having to come from 15th place on the grid, from the 5th row of the grid. Got through to 3rd place pretty quick, but as so often happens, then you hit a brick wall, don't you? And after that, it's very, very difficult. And these two youngsters have said, you're not quick enough today, world champion, doctor, whatever you call yourself. This race is between us two.
Max Biaggi there picking up some important points in 5th place, if nothing else, to sort of defend his honour in some ways. He's never scored less than 170 points in a season. He's currently on 163. I'm talking about the MotoGP Premier class here. He scored 170 points in 2000. That's his lowest points haul, but he's on course to just about pass that now by about 2 points if he can hang on here to 5th place. But certainly not been Max Biaggi's best season, and again, as we mentioned before, will it be his last? And will it be Alex Barros there? He's right behind him as well.
Well, I think it'll be a sad day if it is his last, going out in such a bad way. I honestly could put his pit board out for him. I'm so close. And yeah, they're pleased now, obviously, with his position. There's a very good race going on between Loris Capirossi and Alex Barros as well. But I think all eyes now focused on the front. They're telling Nicky Hayden that Rossi is 6 seconds behind him. It's not going to happen, and is now can just concentrate on catching the man at the front and seeing if he can put pressure on him. But of course, Melandri is in supreme form, tremendous confidence with him, and he will be a very, very difficult man to meet. I think if Nicky Hayden beat him this afternoon, that would be a truly remarkable performance. About 8.5 to go. Beautiful sunshine here. The crowd absolutely enthralled in this battle. What an end to a fabulous 17-round MotoGP season.
Still 4/10 the gap between Melandri and Hayden, as it has been for the last few laps. Marco Melandri, who won the 250cc race here in 2002 on his way to the World Championship. It was his, well, he'd already won the World Championship actually by that point, of course, in Phillip Island, but then we came back here to Valencia for the final round of the season, and he won it. So he's a previous winner here in the 250cc class. He's now a winner in MotoGP, of course, after that victory in Istanbul 2 weeks ago. The second youngest ever winner in MotoGP, behind Valentino Rossi. That is, of course, since the championship changed its formats ever so slightly from 500s to these 990cc four-strokes.
And I think Alex Barros at last has got past Loris Capirossi, hasn't he, as they tip into turn 1.
Yeah, now the real battle is between Barros and Biaggi, isn't it? Barros is putting together a good, strong charge here. Of course, Alex Barros, a former winner at Valencia as well. He won the 2002 race here. The same day that Marco Melandri won that 250cc race. Alex Barros in his second ride on the V5 Honda, and in fact it looks as though he's got past Max Biaggi now, or he ran it wide. Yeah, and it was just his second appearance. Nick, you may remember he made his first appearance in Motegi, didn't he, and won that race.
And did we have a Malaysian Grand Prix after that?
Actually, yeah, we did.
Sorry, you're right. I think Valentino Rossi caused him a few problems and took him wide in one bend.
Yeah, that's right. So I think it was he won 2 out of 4
he did,
at the end of the season, and Valencia was number 2.
So are we seeing the end of... that's quite interesting, isn't it? We could be seeing the end of Max Biaggi and Alex Barros, and the real emergence of Nicky Hayden and Marco Melandri. And these things happen, and that's what the sport's all about, and it's good for the sport. But it'd be sad to see Max Biaggi bow out and Alex Barros bow out. And don't rule them out of some negotiations or some twist of the plot before all the contracts are signed and sealed for 2006. Here they come, they're coming. I'd say Nicky Hayden's a little bit closer as they go over the start and finish line. Definitely closer.
That's the closest that Nicky Hayden has been for the last 5 or 6 laps. He's now 1/10 of a second behind the race leader, Marco Melandri. And I tell you what, Valentino Rossi has been closing the gap down meanwhile between them. This is the fight for 5th place between Max Biaggi and Alex Barros. Onto the brakes they go, and Biaggi does well to hold him off because we all know how strong Barros is on the brakes. But Hayden definitely getting closer. Now they're going to come against a back marker here. I can only imagine it's one of the WCM machines, probably Franco Battaini. And Battaini will get out of the way.
It is Battaini because what they've been coming past me, and they'll be getting closer and closer all the time. So it definitely is Battaini now. Unwittingly, he could play a pretty big part in this if he's not careful, couldn't he?
He could just give Nicky Hayden that.
Just that edge.
Well, he's going to get it. He's going to get right in between them here, is he? No, just about. Oh, and he forces Nicky Hayden very deep, in fact, and Hayden pulls right up on the rear wheel of Marco Melandri. Can he hold his speed on the exit? He can. So Hayden now. Oh, and here's his chance, is it? No, just there. Nicky Hayden just got his first glimpse of the lead. Marco Melandri left the door slightly ajar. Nicky Hayden put his foot in it and then pulled it out again.
Yeah, just like putting your toe in the water in the old swimming pool, isn't it? Just a little test. You know he's coming back. I crane my neck up to the start and finish area, and they're just about to arrive on this difficult left-hander. Great excitement. Here they come. Melandri still leads the way. Nicky Hayden an awful lot closer. 150, 160, 170, 180 miles an hour.
0.2 of a second between them. Actually a bigger gap on this lap than on the previous lap, but then that was the sign that Nicky Hayden is getting close. These two now will do it out over the last 7 laps. Valentino Rossi all on his own in 3rd place. Carlos Checa all on his own in 4th place. What about the battle for 5th now between Biaggi, Barros and Capirossi? It still remains in the hands of Max Biaggi. The 3 old-timers there in 5th, 6th and 7th place.
Can actually see a screener probably now. I've actually come to. I thought I'd do it right. I think I'd sign off the season by watching it on the Repsol Honda screen because I might win the race. So I wanted to see, but yeah, I've got a really good view now. Actually peering over the shoulder of Carlo Fiorani, Pete Benson, the Michelin Man, everybody. There's a great place.
The Michelin Man?
Not the Michelin Man, no. But it is a super place to watch, and this is a fabulous race between the 2 men. That surely the future of MotoGP lies in these 2 young men's hands, and they are putting on a fabulous, fabulous show. 125,000 people, they're enjoying every moment of it. I'm not sure if my money is on because Nicky Hayden has done a very, very good job indeed to keep him in check. We ride with Valentino Rossi, the doctor, in 3rd place. What a ride by him. 15th on the grid, 5th row, and here he is up into 3rd place, but he's not making that big impression. The lads in front, the gap now is 3.9 seconds. It's not going to be close enough as Melandri and Hayden plan their strategy at the front.
Well, he's closing in, Valentino Rossi, 3.6 seconds the gap now as they go across the line, but the pace is increasing once again at the front. Melandri and Hayden had dropped the pace a little bit for a couple of laps. Gave Rossi a bit of a sniff, but 6 laps to go, 3.6 seconds. He's going to have to make much more progress than that. These two have been side by side almost all throughout this race. The 2 youngsters, they couldn't have come from different backgrounds, could they? Marco Melandri, former Minimoto rider from Ravenna in Italy, DJ in his spare time, and Nicky Hayden, the Kentucky kid, former AMA dirt track and superbike champion. 2 very, very contrasting ways into MotoGP, but here they are, face to face, shoulder to shoulder.
What a race it is. And with Carlo Fiorani now, Carlo is retiring as the sporting director for HRC. I think you're going to leave the sport in pretty good hands looking at this race, Carlo.
Absolutely. I'm so happy and so glad to see 2 young Honda riders leading the race, and I think this is the future. This is for what we are working. So I really hope for next year that this will be the picture, the photo. 2 Honda young guys in front.
Can Nicky Hayden win this one?
I really hope so. Now it's too early because everything can happen. Still 6 laps to go. And but Nicky is looking in good shape and is waiting the right moment to try to overtake Marco. We will see.
Carlo, good luck in everything you do. And I have a feeling you were going to see you at some tracks watching these two in action.
Absolutely. I will work in Honda Europe, so I will have many chances to meet you again.
Carlo, thank you.
Thank you.
Carlo Fiorani, the man behind Valentino Rossi's successful years with Honda, of course, and now helping to bring the likes of Nicky Hayden and Danny Pedrosa through, and as Nick rightly says, leaving the future of the HRC factory team in very safe hands, certainly on the evidence of this performance and what we've seen from Pedrosa in the 250cc race today. Repsol Honda will be leaving the 2005 season rubbing their hands and looking forward to 2006.
Gap's about the same, isn't it? Again, I can't see the timing screen, but I think Carlo Fiorani was right, wasn't it? Nicky Hayden's gonna start having a really good sniff. I think he dipped his toe in the water once. He's just got to get a little bit closer,
I think this corner on the last lap, Nick, well, actually was a lot closer on the previous lap as he came round the left-hander. He got very, very close to Marco Melandri. Now, you see them do the switchback through the tight right-hander, turn 11. Hayden's run it a little bit wide on the entry there, but just taking a different line to Marco Melandri, but it was coming through turn 14, that final left-hander, that Hayden got very, very close to Melandri, and he looked as though he might be lining him up for a pass down the straight. Let's see.
Is he that close? We wait to see. Marco Melandri leads the way. The man behind him, Nicky Hayden, that famous number 69, the Kentucky kid, the winner of the US Grand Prix back in July, faces the Marco Melandri, the man who won in Turkey 2 weeks ago. And Melandri, I would say, fights back and just opens up the gap a little bit more, though Hayden really closes on the brakes. And here's Valentino Rossi in third place.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Those two contrasting backgrounds. Marco Melandri winning his first Grand Prix at Brno as a 15-year-old, Nick, in the 125cc class. A real typical 125 Italian rider coming through into the 250s, doing ever so well. And all that time, Nicky Hayden was out on those dirt tracks out in America in winning the AMA Dirt Track Championship before getting on a road racing machine and winning the Superbike Series as well. And here they've come together. A real clash of cultures. Both of them wonderful personalities. They get on very well off the track as well. Both really top guys. And great now to see these two go head-to-head over the final 3.5 laps. Rossi's closing the gap to them, incidentally, but it's not going to be close enough. It's 3.3 seconds now with 3 laps to go, and unless something really drastic happens at the front here, he's really not going to get his chance to have a bite at these two, although you just wonder if he hadn't started from 15th on the grid.
He'd have been there, wouldn't he?
He'd have been in there, wouldn't he? Yeah?
He certainly would. Let's forget the rider, Valentino Rossi, and Hayden certainly is very, very close this time, isn't he? He's going to have a nibble any moment now.
He's getting closer and closer and closer. This is the corner, this long, long left-hander, where Hayden likes to get tight to Melandri. Look at this now as they come into the straight. He will try and swing it through here and get a run on Melandri. This is one of the main overtaking opportunities at this Valencia circuit. It's difficult. They're just keeping Nicky Hayden informed. 3.2 seconds down is Valentino Rossi. 3 laps to go. Well, he's not going to be close enough this time to make a pass. He might have to come up with somewhere else.
Valentino Rossi races past in third place. In fourth place, Carlos Checa, as he secured perhaps a renewal of his Ducati contract. We wait to see. But this is the race between the two youngsters.
Oh, big slide then from Nicky Hayden. He had that Honda in all sorts of shapes. Now, how much time has he lost on Marco Melandri? Not too much, but that was a big one.
Yeah, he did very well to hang in there, and it doesn't appear to make any difference to the gap between them at all. So Hayden using that dirt tracking style to hang on to the bike, and he is very, very close this time. 2.5 laps to go. Is he going to have a nibble? Not quite close enough.
And to the end of the back straight, they go through the left-hand kink and then into the tight left, turn 8, second gear. Onto the gas now, up into third as they come through this second left-hander, through the right and into turn 11, tight right-hand hairpin, the Manuel Champi Herreros corner. It's just been named today after the former 80cc world champion, the last ever 80cc world champion back in 1989.
We ride with Marco Melandri, that big white number 69 in his face. If he can look behind, I'm sure he's not looking behind. Not quite the two shadows touching, not quite the two bikes touching, but Hayden closes all the time. We now ride with Nicky Hayden round the left-hander. That's Marco Melandri in front of him. They cross the line, they go past our pit position now. 2 laps to go.
It seems that whatever happens here, the championship, we know, is in the hands of MotoGP world champion Valentino Rossi, but second place in the championship will go to Marco Melandri if he finishes first or second here. So Hayden really is going for the race win and nothing else. It's just simply a matter of who can sign off from 2005 with a victory. Marco Melandri's got his head down again.
He's going, Melandri, isn't he? He's decided, this is it. This lap would, well, this half lap I think would tell us what's going to happen.
Crucial now that Nicky Hayden stays with Marco Melandri through these next 3 corners. He's got to try and make some sort of a pass on the Italian at some stage here. 1.5 laps to go, and Hayden trailing Melandri now by just a crucial couple of tenths of a second. Valentino Rossi watches on from third place. 2.6 seconds the gap back to the Italian. He's close, but he's not close enough to make an attack on these two.
It's over, I think. I think it's over. I think he's done it. Melandri has just broken it enough, has he? But Nicky Hayden will never give up, but it's just perhaps too big a gap. Let's see what Hayden can do.
Closes in again here. Nicky Hayden is not lying down, is he? Once again, they come through that right-left switch, and then up over the crest and round this long left-hander that gets tighter and tighter and tighter all the way through the apex. Onto the gas they go for the final time here. One more lap of this Ricardo Tormo circuit. 4 kilometres now between Marco Melandri and potentially his second consecutive MotoGP victory. Can Nicky Hayden do anything to stop him on this final lap?
It might just be close enough, Muddy. Might just be able to have one big nibble. He doesn't want to take too many risks, though, does he? He really wants to hang on to second place, and I think to perhaps take the lead now would be a very, very big risk. Too big a risk, I think. I think Marco Melandri is going to win this, though Hayden is very, very fast on that last section of the circuit.
Through they come, through the double right-handers. Perhaps Nicky Hayden is lining up and attempting the final corner here. We saw it earlier on in the 125cc race, but these are much, much bigger machines. There isn't the room out there to make the pass in improvised places. It's got to be planned, it's got to be careful, Nicky Hayden, if he's going to attack here.
Half a lap to go. Hayden again closes, but he's just not quite close enough. He's never been quite close enough. Just one time, I think, he almost put up alongside Marco Melandri. But here he comes again. He's very far through here. Will he make a real last-ditch attempt at that very, very tricky long left into the start and finish straight? He is closer.
This is it. 3 bends to go. Through the right, into the left. Round they go.
Oh,
and here Nicky Hayden's going to... He's putting the pressure on Nicky Hayden from behind. Melandri up out of his seat here. He tries to defend his line. Nicky Hayden runs it wide. Will he get the drive on the exit? It's going to be a drag line between the two to the line. Melandri has the advantage. Hayden tries to use the slipstream. Melandri has done just enough to hold him off. What a finish to this race.
Oh, what a race.
Less than a tenth of a second separate the two Honda youngsters, but it's Melandri who wins his second Grand Prix.
What a fabulous race. I'm walking down towards the Telefonica Movie Star Honda Cup. They are going absolutely crazy. There's people running up the pit lane. I really don't know where they've come from. Don't know if they're the public or what have you. We'll try and get a word with Carlo Malini. He's about the only man that can speak English in the camp. You remember he was shaking so much after the win last time that he could hardly speak. We'll see if we can get a very, very quick word with him. But a fantastic achievement. Marco Melandri wins 2 in a row. That is an amazing achievement for the Italian.
Valentino Rossi completes the podium in third place. Melandri's dropped his bike, he's jumped off it. He's surrounded by fans out there and friends, of course, as well. He's got that Italian flag. It looks as though he's dropped that as well as his bike. He's off again. And, they might have trouble getting it started now after it's been on its side. There are they.
Just listen to this. Listen to the cheering going on in the Telefonica Movie Star Garage. They cannot believe. There's a lot of tears again, I can tell you. They are just so happy, and so they should be. What a magnificent performance by Marco Melandri.
Would it have been any different if this man didn't start from 15th on the grid? He certainly showed the pace at the end of the race to suggest that he could have gone with Melandri and Hayden. And a stunning performance still, though, from Valentino Rossi. Yet another. He won't equal Mick Doohan's record of 12 victories in a season. Well, perhaps he'll save that till next year. Marco Melandri and Nicky Hayden will certainly be 2 men trying to stop him.
And we can just see Angelo Nieto just shaking hands with Fausto Grassini there as he walked past, saying congratulations, what a brilliant victory it was. I look for Carlo Mellini, absolutely no sign of him at the moment. I think he's been submerged by everybody. Absolute chaos, as you can imagine, in pit lane, but no wonder why. A second consecutive Grand Prix victory for Marco Melandri.
He crashed it. He crashed it while he was doing the burnout.
Is he okay?
He's fine. Well, he doesn't seem to mind too much, does he? There'll be a few scrapes on the side of that fairing that the mechanics won't mind clearing up tonight. The fireworks have started to go off here at Valencia. Boy, did they go off on the track on that final lap. What a final bend that was from Melandri. He planned it to perfection. Hayden had nowhere to go around the outside, and it was a straight drag to the line that Melandri had too much of an advantage on. Incidentally, further down, you've probably just seen the bottom of your screen there, Carlos Checa finishing in 4th place to complete an excellent second half to the season for him. Alex Barros in 5th from Max Biaggi in 6th, Campi Rossi 7th, Colin Edwards 8th, Makoto Tamada 9th, Tony Elias 10th, Nakano, Chianari, Hopkins, Hoffman and Schaus completing the points. Great ride from Nicky Hayden and a sign of things to come in 2006. He did everything he could on that final lap, and everything he could was just not quite good enough.
It certainly wasn't, but he certainly gave it absolutely everything, didn't he? And yeah, the future of Grand Prix racing is in very safe hands. Don't forget also a fantastic ride there by Valentino Rossi. I'm trying to get into park.
Nick, I know you're down there in Park Fermi. We just had a wonderful shot there from Marco Melandri's onboard camera of him wiping the tears away from underneath his helmet and then pulling his visor back down like a kid that didn't want anybody to see that he was crying. Well, a resignated reception there for Nicky Hayden. And he'll be happy with that 2nd place. He knows that even by winning the race, he wouldn't have finished 2nd in the championship, but he did everything he possibly could. And who knows, if Valentino Rossi was up there, it could all have been different. And any one of those 3 riders could have ended up winning this race. Well, despite that, his little crash on the last burnout he decided to stop and find time for another one, Marco Melandri. He looks even happier this week than he did in Istanbul 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, in some ways, you know, that second win, it sort of cements things, doesn't it? And just sort of shows exactly what it's about and how you've done it. You know, we were talking about Dickie Smart. He's actually here to receive the buyback. We're trying to have a word with Dickie Smart at the moment. Valentino Rossi's here describing everything that went on. When Nicky Hayden's here, we still wait for Marco Melandri to say he had a bit of a tumble while doing the burnout. So we wait to see exactly what that's going to bring. But here he comes. Warm applause all the way around. Marco Melandri wins his 2nd successive MotoGP race. He gives a big hug to his crew chief. He is over the moon. I think it's probably been a little bit, some real crushes going on around the pit lane.
I think he just headbutted his Fabrizio Cecchini, his chief mechanic there. It was clutching his eye.
I think he probably did. But absolute chaos down here, as one would expect. He's still got his helmet on. Everybody is celebrating. Nicky Hayden is here, and here he goes, celebrating with his crew. And he's actually gone out of Park Fermi now. There's officials trying to hold the barriers up because the barriers are going down. He's standing on the barriers now. They are going crazy. But somehow he survived that, and somehow the crowd has survived. But celebrations here you've hardly ever seen before. Absolutely fantastic. I'll try and have a word with Pete Benson, but he's just shaking hands with some of the Grassini people at the moment. Here is Nicky Hayden, gives a big hug to Pete Benson. He looks a little bit disappointed at the moment, Nicky Hayden, but we'll try and see what he has to say any moment now. He's coming our way now. No, not our way at the moment. We're just a wait and see.
Okay. Well, there's the 3 podium finishers then at Valencia. Marco Melandri, Nicky Hayden and Valentino Rossi. Honda, Yamaha. And, well, for Yamaha, perhaps not the end to their 50th anniversary celebrations that they expected. Valentino Rossi having won at this circuit for the past 2 seasons, but today it wasn't quite to be. Carlos Checa coming across the line in 4th place to end a good solid end to the season for him and Ducati. Will he be back with the Italian factory next year? We wait and find out. I'm sure that the press room is going to be alive with rumours, counter rumours and confirmations tonight. Let's hope so. It'd be nice to finally find out what's going on, and I'm sure that you can keep up to date on all those things if you visit the official website for MotoGP, MotoGP.com. It's going to be full of news, I reckon, this week. There's all sorts of things to get sorted out, and I imagine that tonight, before the party gets kicked in at around midnight in the middle of Valencia, there's going to be a few deals and contracts signed before then.
I think we could have a word with Nicky Hayden now. No, he's gone away again. In fact, he wants to shake hands with Marco Melandri. I think that's pretty fair. Let's see what Nicky has to say.
Yeah, I mean, I expect that every Sunday. I know it's always going to be tough, but, it was a little tight early. I crashed out 2 years in a row here, but once I loosened up, I felt really good and comfortable. And last lap, I was just looking for anywhere to stick a nose in, but Marco covered everything and just didn't have enough, no moral victories, but we're going to take everything we learned, definitely try to come back next year strong.
Well, dude, that this is your 3rd season.
Now you can hear absolute chaos. So Nicky Hayden almost being drowned out as Marco Melandri celebrates his 2nd Grand Prix win. We're going to hear from Nicky once again. Here we go. We get there in a minute.
Bagging that victory was huge. It would have been nice to get 2 of them, but, like you say, definitely we got some areas we can improve, but just a big step forward as long as we can, pick up next year right here and just take that next step. There's just a little bit left, and I believe in my skills. I got the right people behind me, and we're going to do everything, come out of the race stronger.
Part of that race with Nicky.
There we are. That was Nicky Hayden. He's been whisked away as quick as possible to go onto the podium. Valentino Rossi doesn't seem to be doing a great deal of interviews with anybody at the moment. We wait to see what he has to say when we hear from the press conference later on. But no doubt about the winner is Matt. What a performance by Marco Melandri. His 2nd successive Grand Prix victory in Turkey 14 days ago. He's done it here again in Valencia. Nicky Hayden in 2nd place, and in 3rd spot, of course, Valentino Rossi starting from that 15th place and 5th row of the grid. We might get a quick word with Marco Melandri in a minute. I'll butt in while you're talking if I can.
Well, please do. Marco Melandri, the second youngest ever winner of a MotoGP race. He must be the youngest double winner of a MotoGP race, I suppose, now after this one. Successive wins at Turkey and Valencia. What a finish to the season for Marco Melandri. Not just that, of course, he finished 2nd at Qatar and 4th at Phillip Island as well, previous to those 2 straight wins. So really was a stunning finish to the season. If you imagine that was the first 4 races of the season and not the last 4, well, what a start to the year that would be. Let's see if we get something similar in 2006. Well, it was a fiesta today in Spain. The Mexican waves prove of that. And here, the highlights of the MotoGP race. We still wait to see if we can get a word with Marco Melandri. Big crash there for Robbie Rolfo on the 1st lap.
A nasty-looking accident, wasn't it? And I think he did well to walk away from it.
Valentino Rossi made up 8 positions on the 1st lap and a half. And Sete Gibernau, who ran at the front of the race, his dreadful season continued. This time it was an engine, or it looked like an engine problem at least, but certainly a mechanical breakdown. And Gibernau out of the race. It just seems that was the only possible way that Gibernau's season could have ended.
What a desperate time for Sete Gibernau, eh? That really was. And you just saw the frustration and everything else, the way it went. Valentino Rossi chatting away with Marco Melandri. Now I think we might get a quick word with Valentino Rossi. Here we come. Oh no, he's decided that he wasn't going to come this far down. He's having a bit of an argument with one of the officials of the motorman who's going to speak to. But there we go. Nicky Hayden shakes hands with Dickie Smart, and that was a tremendous performance by Dickie Smart. 17 years in MotoGP, now bows out and he shakes hands with Nicky Hayden. And what a season it's been. 17 rounds of the MotoGP World Championship. And, well, it's Valentino Rossi's year. I don't think any of us can ever forget that. But it's gone out with two youngsters just showing us what they can do. Congratulations to Marco Melandri. Congratulations, Nicky Hayden. But don't let's forget who's world champion. It's Valentino Rossi.
Yeah, you're right, Nick. Absolutely right. Valentino Rossi, of course, so strong over the first 11 rounds of the season when he won 9 races, finished second in one and third in the other, sealed the title then. Of course, in Malaysia was second place. But Nicky Hayden and Marco Melandri, we mentioned Marco Melandri finishing second in Qatar, fourth in Australia, and then consecutive wins. You look at Hayden's run of form as well. He's had 2/3 and 2 seconds from the last 4 races, and he's the only rider other than Valentino Rossi this season to score 4 consecutive podiums. That's just the kind of consistency that you need over the course of a season if you're going to challenge for the championship. And if you can reproduce that form next year, as with Marco Melandri, then they are going to push Valentino Rossi harder than he's ever been pushed in this World Championship.
And then you've got the likes of Danny Pedrosa, probably Casey Stoner coming in. They're going to take a couple of years, like everybody did. Even Valentino Rossi had problems in that first year on the old 500cc Honda. And, of course, with Marco Melandri, big problems when he rode the Yamaha, but his fortune changing. This is his 3rd year in MotoGP, so it's not going to happen overnight for these youngsters. So it's going to be Hayden, it's going to be Melandri, obviously it's going to be Rossi, but there's some real young talent coming through as well. Yeah, prospects are very, very good indeed. I think halfway through the season, 3/4 of the way through the season, we thought this is a championship totally dominated by Valentino Rossi, and things, well, when Rossi goes, what is going to happen? We've seen the answer to that, and it's a very, very exciting prospect. We've had a fabulous 17 Grand Prix. I think you've enjoyed it as much as I have, Matt. It's been a great season, and I think everybody's looking forward to the winter break. But by about Christmas, those itchy feet will be saying, when's that first Grand Prix? First Grand Prix next season at Jerez in Spain, 2006. And I'm just looking at the 3 bikes here in Parc Ferme. The number 46 Yamaha of Valentino Rossi, the number 69 Repsol Honda of Nicky Hayden, and the number 33 Telefonica Movie Star Honda of Marco Melandri. They may not be all in the same colours next year, but they are going to be the machines that are going to be up the front in next year's championship.
Brilliant onboard stuff there of Marco Melandri as he came across the line, and the excitement there, he just couldn't control it, could he? He's such a character, Marco Melandri. Typical spontaneous Italian, but also mild-mannered, very, very friendly indeed. And well, I think I go for everybody within the MotoGP paddock to say it's wonderful to see him come through and take the last 2 wins of the year. A fitting way to end the season, despite Valentino Rossi's dominance of the championship this year. He is the number 1. He is always the man to beat. He will remain the man to beat next season. He will remain a very, very strong favourite to win the World Championship. But we've been given a sign here over the last few races, particularly today, that next year he is not going to have it all his own way. And Nick, probably I would say that today this was his best chance of ever equalling Mick Doohan's record of 12 wins in a season, because I honestly can't see him winning 12 races in 2006.
I think if he won 12 races in 2006, that would be an absolutely remarkable achievement, and I don't think he's going to do that. He's coming onto the rostrum now. I'm getting out of the way because I think the champagne is about to fly, but very quickly, we'll probably just get a very quick word with Pete Benson here. Is it able to do something? I can't see the rostrum now, and I don't want to disturb any ceremonies, but let's just see what I can do. Here's Pete now, yeah. Well, he gave his best shot, Pete.
Yeah, he did. He stuck in there, and I thought on the last lap, Marco got a bit of a bobble on, and I thought he was going to get a run on him through the last turn, but just couldn't quite do it. We need the start-finish line about 100 metres further down. We might have been all right. But a really good effort all the same. I'm really chuffed with the year.
It's going to be a great season next year, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I can't wait. You know, I sort of wish it wasn't March or April. I wish it was coming a bit quicker now. So if we can start how we finished and keep working from there, I think it's going to be awesome.
Enjoy the break, and then see you in 2006.
Yeah, sure do. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Pete Benson there, chief mechanic to Nicky Hayden, and again, you know, he's one of the success stories, Nick, of 2006 as well. Pete Benson stepping up first year as a chief mechanic, and it takes time, doesn't it, to get used to a new job like that. And the way that Hayden's come on strong at the end of the year is in no small part down to the way that relationship has developed, and the way that he's progressed as well as a chief mechanic.
Yeah, that's right. And Nicky Hayden keeps telling you this, doesn't he? Yeah. You're used to riders saying about the team, but he keeps telling you that the team are now working very, very well together, and we're getting better in qualifying. We're doing everything better as a team, and I think that's clearly shown by everybody.
Well, there's a big whoa going up down there in Parc Ferme now as they get ready to cheer. There they go. Marco Melandri accepts his winner's trophy from Francesco Zerbi, the president of the FIM. And but all these three riders up there on the podium, they'll be at the FIM Awards tonight, the MotoGP Awards rather, to pick up their awards for first, second and third in the World Championship. They do that for all three categories, and then the Constructors Awards are given out as well. Rookie of the Year, everything else. The Italian national anthem now will play, not for Valentino Rossi, but for the second successive week for Marco Melandri. Looks like the outside of a New York burger and pizza bar, that, doesn't it? The Italian and American flags flying side by side. And they were side by side today, all right, all the way to the end. 0.097 seconds. The winning margin for Marco Melandri over Nicky Hayden. The champagne flows for the final time in 2005. The World Championship is over, but the fireworks and the party is just beginning.